Good evening. I'm Harry Lipset, and it's my pleasure to start this off on behalf of the James A. McKee Association. This is the second night that we've been here. I think a lot of you were here last night as well, and we had a good time, and we expect to have a good one tonight as well. As soon as I finish the next sentence, I'm going to sit down and leave everything in the hands of the moderator, Bruce Heckman. And so he's going to explain how he wants to run things, and then we'll do everything his way. Okay?
Hello, welcome everyone.
Can't hear you.
Turn it on.
Thank you.
All the way on.
And it's all the way on. I'm going to demonstrate for all here how we need to use these microphones. I've been instructed. You can't hold it like this because people won't hear you. You can't hold it.
Demonstrate.
I'm demonstrating. I can't hold it here and be heard. I have to hold it like this to be heard.
Ice cream cone.
And it has to be right, almost in your mouth. Observe. This is what it has to be. Like that, you can't hear me. 6 inches is too much. So, and let me encourage anyone who can't hear to wave your arms, stand up and jump up and down and yell. And you'll just change the problem right away. Great, thank you. Next year we'll buy new microphones. Well, again, welcome to all, and on behalf of everyone here, let me thank James A. McKee Group for hosting this event and for the million applauses. Thank you. And let me thank Mills Lawn School for hosting this physically, and I'll thank the Yellow Springs News in advance for its balanced coverage of this. I'm going to reverse the order of things today, and we'll start with the mayor. So anyone who has a question for the mayor might want to begin writing that down now. The rules of the game, our candidates will have 5 minutes to present anything they like themselves, their background, qualifications, positions on issues, anything that they think the voters might want to know about them. And we will have questions that must be written down, and there's some additional rules on that that McKee Group put together. Please put the candidate's name to whom you would like it addressed at the top of the card. We have cards around here, right on, and just wave it and someone will pick it up from you. You write the candidate's name at the top, put the question in the middle of the card, and write your name at the bottom. We want any question to be asked, that it's going to be asked, needs to have an author. I will read them to the candidates. And so there will be no questions coming from the floor. If you have a question, we will entertain it, and we'll stay here until all questions get addressed. The question could be of all candidates. It might be of one candidate. I may, while it might be addressed to one, I might invite other candidates to address the same question. So that's it. Let me invite yes, if you have a cell phone, you might want to join me. I'm going to turn mine into vibrate. You could also turn it off. It would work as well. Some vibrates are louder than others. Still can't hear me. Okay. This is, my lower lip is touching it. It's now 1 inch from my mouth. Now it's 2 inches from my mouth. And it's almost no longer audible to 3. So, candidates, I will try to follow the same rules. So let me invite the mayor to stand up, come up here. Here he is. We have one candidate. His Honor, David Coburn. Your Honor, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. I understand I was standing back here and the microphone tends to have a distortion in it a little bit. So if, I don't know what we do. What I want to do tonight, though, is to thank you. I want to thank you for the 22 years that I've served as mayor, and look forward to at least another 2 years. So I have enjoyed this 22 years of serving Yellow Springs. We have a community court, and I think it's rather unique, the court system that we have, because through a community court, we are able to bring about and continue to foster our sense of values from the community. Openness, tolerance, acceptance of each other. Those are the types of values that I try and maintain within the court system. We try and help folks. This is the first time most people have had an opportunity to be in a courtroom. And it's, you know, when you're on the other side of the bench, it's not a pleasant experience. People are scared, they're worried, they're upset, and we try to at least make it a positive experience for those that are in front of us. I remember well when I first came into office, James McKee, who was our chief of police. And Jim said to me, now, here's what I think you ought to do. We try to keep people, their licenses, their registration, and their insurance all up to date. If you do that, you will do a great service for this community and forget about raising money. Another person that I ran into when I first came into office was Kent Bristol, who was the manager at that time. And Kent indicated to me that you run the court, you do your thing up there, and don't worry about the money that you bring in or don't bring in. Worry about taking care of the people. And that's what I've tried to do over these 22 years. It's been a great experience. I've loved it. I said when I first started, I'd keep doing it as long as one, you elected me, and two, I was having fun. And so far, both of those things are happening. So I thank you very much, and I look forward to serving the community for another 2 years, helping us to maintain the values and our community standards that we all came to live here for. It's a great place to be, a great place to raise your kids, and a great place to maybe even retire. So, which I never thought would happen, but it's happened to me. Thank you very much.
At this moment, we have no questions for the mayor. Are there any ones in writing that are about to come up here? I believe not. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Let me invite all the candidates for the council to come up. This is a terrific year. We have 8 candidates, as many as I can recall. For those who are coming in late, since I spoke last, you'll have an opportunity to ask questions of all the candidates. They need to be in writing, however. There are cards available for you to write on. Put the name of the candidate you'd like the question addressed to, the question itself, and then sign your name. And someone will pick up the card for you.
Will you tell them, please, even though they have a microphone, they need
project,
That's a good point.
to speak with energy so we can hear.
Thank you, Flo. I think all of you were probably here when I spoke earlier that these things don't work very well if they're this far away from the mouth. You've got to have them in your mouth and speak loudly to boot.
I actually can't understand from
Really?
back here, it's inaudible, so.
Okay,
We have chairs up here.
It's a matter of articulation.
articulation. My wife says that I mumble all the time, so you may be correct. Well, in any case, I've encouraged people in the back to wave and scream, make noise they can't hear, so you may get some feedback. So we have 8 candidates. What I'm going to ask each of you to do is to pass the microphone down. I will start at this end. Introduce yourself. You have 5 minutes. We have a timer. Kent Bristol has a timer right here. It's going to go off after 5 minutes, but he will wave his hand when he gets to 1 minute to go. I'm planning to cut no one off, but if you would help me prevent me any anxiety about having to do that, that would be a good thing. And you will have 2 minutes to address questions. Let's start with 5 minutes each. Say anything you like about yourself, your qualifications, positions on issues, anything you think it's important for people to know about you. Okay.
My name is Patty Purdon. Can you hear me? No. Really? You can? Oh, there we go. You can hear me now? My name is Patty Purdon. I've been here a long time. My grandmother owned a business in Yellow Springs, and so did my mother. So we've been here quite a while. Oh, sorry. Keep letting me know. Louder?
A little bit louder, please.
I always thought I was loud. I'm not loud. They don't have a way to do that. I'm already nervous, okay?
It's okay, you're home.
I am?
Yes.
Okay, let's see. Oh, first thing I do want to say is when I first started getting the things so I could be on the ballot, I had someone come to me and say, do me one favor, don't make any promises. But guess what? I got one tonight. I'm not going to take 5 minutes to talk about me. But I do have a degree in accounting, many years in management. I still own No Common Sense, been in the family for 30 years. I've been doing it for 12. I love to cook, ride my bicycle. I do like to talk. It's just, man, this is scary up here. I hope to do a good job for you guys because you deserve it. I deserve it. We all deserve to have peace and harmony in this village. It was there before. We can get it again, but I can't do it by myself. I need your help to do so. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Christine Monroe Beard, and as you know, I'm running for Village Council. I'm a 30-year resident of Yellow Springs with a 6th-generation history here. My background is in both private, commercial management and business, the visual arts, entomology, and environmental auditing. I have been a business co-owner here for several years at Peaches Grill and the Import House. My husband Don and I have 2 sons here in Yellow Springs High School. The reason why I'm running for council is to secure the economic viability and stability to our village. I feel that focusing on the economic stability of Yellow Springs will solve many of our existing concerns with the need for diversity, the need for employment, affordability, leveling our tax base, and supporting businesses, and keeping our property values solid. I'm a proponent of clear communication, transparency, and the support for businesses that are here now and that will join our village. I feel that it is important to use for us as a community to move smoothly into the 21st century without compromising or marring the history and character of our village. I am in support of the Center for Business Education. because it will allow us to increase our tax base and local revenue. It will bring a diversity of people, shoppers to our downtown, jobs to our economy, and buyers to our housing market. Let me be clear that the CBE is in no way, shape, or form a retail, restaurant, or a strip mall plan. The local zoning and the rules set forth by the community resources will not allow it. With that said, Yellow Springs is also a tourist town and has been virtually from the beginning. And those dollars mean a great deal to our existing downtown, as I well know. But we are also an arts community, and I see that artists are having a difficult time surviving here. My neighbor, who is a sculptor, and his wife, who is a massage therapist, just recently had to move to Dayton because they couldn't afford the taxes. We used to have a commercial and industrial base that offset our taxes for the residents, and now that they are gone, the burden is now on our shoulders. I would like to do something about that. Developing the CBE project will ensure our existing businesses like EnviroFlight, Yellow Springs Brewery, S&G Distillery will have a place to expand if needed, instead of forcing those businesses out of town like others before them. This influx of revenue will keep our businesses downtown, not only to be so dependent on the tourist dollar, and most importantly, it will give us a little more freedom for fun projects. We'll have the extra couple of bucks to do things like support our arts community, our environmental projects, and maybe being able to help fund co-ops. My second hot issue would be the water infrastructure. I myself am rather exhausted with the brown water that we have. Right now, there are a few different options on the table, and of course my favorite is keeping our water sourcing our own. With that being said, I think we are going to have to really lay some facts and numbers out and see what is best for our whole village. Because ultimately, my goal is to provide reliable, clear, clean, tasty water for our village at a competitive rate. As a village councilwoman, I would focus on running our village more like a business. In my door-to-door experience, I've heard many of you say that you would like to see more strong communication and collaboration between the council and the community, and I can understand that. I will welcome ideas from all of our villagers, and I will have regular business hours that I would welcome input and concerns from all of you. If someone will have a better way to get a job done for the benefit of all of us, I'm all ears. Because I believe if we don't take care of our village, she won't take care of us. I want you to keep in mind that I am a pragmatic thinker, a team player, a facilitator, a doer. My main focus is on the viability and the future of our village for the benefit of all villagers, and I am asking for your vote.
Good evening. Can you all hear me?
No. Just try and project as much as you can.
I'm Rick Walkie. I'm running for Village Council. I would like to thank the McKee Group and for hosting this forum, and thank all of you who turned out for supporting it. As a member of council for the last 4 years, I have been a part of a team that has worked cooperatively and openly to achieve many of the goals we set out for ourselves and to solve problems as they arose. While we can all come up with solutions of our own, I have come to rely on the input and guidance of those who are willing to share their own perspectives and experiences with me. Together, we have completed much in the past 2 years. To provide some context for how we got where we are, I will mention some of what this council has accomplished. We completed and adopted a comprehensive update of our zoning code. It now incorporates all the current changes of the Ohio Revised Code, is easier to navigate, and encourages economic activity and affordability through extensive permitted uses and a reduction in lot sizes and building footprints. We acquired the right-of-way adjacent to the CBE and oversaw construction of an additional traffic lane, providing safe ingress to the site, setting the stage for the next phase of the project. We appropriated green space funds for a permanent conservation easement on Glen Helen, ensuring our eastern border will remain a natural area in perpetuity. However, looking ahead, one of the most important responsibilities council has is hiring the village manager. Though we are fortunate to have Kent Bristol as our interim manager, the newly elected council must begin the search process for our next full-time manager. From the start, council will need to be explicit in posting for this position. For beyond the scope of desirable skills required for the job, the candidate will need to understand the vagaries of our community, embrace the diversity of needs we present, work with and respect our highly engaged citizens, and make decisions cooperatively with council. Secondly, decades of deferred maintenance have brought us to the brink of the next critical issue: what to do about our aging water plant. Council has investigated the problem for over a year now to better understand what our options are. The three workable solutions are purchasing water from Springfield, building a new facility, or rehabilitating our existing plant. Sourcing water from Springfield, however, raises several issues. Though their water is relatively pristine now, their well field is threatened by several contamination sources. The danger is thought to be minimal, but that is uncertain. And even with a long-term contract, our cost for water will be out of our control, and we will have little bargaining power once we have made the connection and mothballed our plant. Building a new facility looks to be the costliest of the three options, and so doesn't make sense if we can reasonably refurbish our existing plant. For a fraction of the cost, which includes updating, adopting, and implementing our well field protection plan, and adding capacity to remove manganese, we can continue drinking our own delicious Yellow Springs water, free from contaminants or discoloration. Another issue the council will be addressing is repaving the Fair Acres neighborhood, a project complicated by the original substandard water distribution system. There are several scenarios for its resolution, but all will require funding at some level. It has been several decades since we last assessed property owners for local neighborhood improvements. In recent years, the village has footed the bill for all major water and sewer projects, though often with the aid of various grant subsidies. The next council will thus have an opportunity to consider a comprehensive village policy addressing how this and other future projects are funded. If I am part of that discussion, I would propose we continue viewing neighborhoods not as separable taxable entities, but as indistinguishable from the larger community, and to support them as such. Ultimately, this is the same reasoning council applied when we appropriated funds to repair the sidewalks. We viewed them as a valuable community asset in a village that wants to remain walkable, not as an inconvenience sloughed off on adjacent property owners. I would be honored to be allowed to continue my participation on this dedicated, collaborative body working to keep Yellow Springs a welcoming, vibrant community, attracting families, entrepreneurs, artists, professionals, dreamers, and bench sitters alike. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Karen Wintrow. My family came here in 1995 to be part of a community that values diversity, open expression, creativity, and a love of learning. I've served on the boards for the Children's Center, the Antioch School, and the Chamber, where I've been the executive director since 2007. I quickly learned the richness of our history and how it informs the present. Our beginning as a spa with 2 hotels in what is now the Glen, the founding of Antioch College, a new railroad, and the 4 businesses that resulted from Arthur Morgan's entrepreneurial vision. I saw how those businesses enrich this community, with jobs to support our citizens, tax dollars to support government services, and philanthropy to support the needs of the community. 2 of those major employers are gone, along with others, taking critical revenues with them. We must rebuild that economic base if we want to maintain the services and high quality of life we enjoy. Our operational costs are increasing, but our revenues are remaining stagnant. 30% of our general fund budget comes from property tax, primarily from homeowners. 45% comes from income tax from those who work in the village. The remaining 25% comes from about 30 disparate sources over which we have little to no control. So if we don't want to increase income and property tax rates, which would make Yellow Springs even less affordable, the best ways to increase revenues is to add jobs that will also provide meaningful employment for villagers. That is what will make us sustainable, instead of a bedroom community with income tax and purchasing dollars leaving the village. Also impacting affordability is the $7.5 million of utility capital projects that will be funded by only 1,700 customers. We have the available capacity to handle business and residential expansion. That growth will spread the costs over a larger base so we can keep utility rates more affordable. We can responsibly and thoughtfully grow our economic and tax base with new housing, expansion of existing enterprises, and attraction of new businesses that fit the needs and values of the community. For business opportunities, we should look to our historical strengths in education, art, wellness, environmental sciences, agriculture, local food, energy efficiency, and hospitality. Business expansion also supports Antioch College and Antioch Midwest with opportunities for student employment and partnerships to develop innovative business concepts. By completing the Center for Business and Education, we will have the necessary space for existing businesses to grow and new businesses to locate. By making government easy to navigate and responsive, we encourage investment. By maintaining our infrastructure, we support business and residential growth. And by expanding our housing options, we attract a broader diversity of citizens. One of the biggest decisions in 2014 will be the water source. This is a multi-million-dollar investment with many layers of considerations. While not definitive because data is still being gathered, my preference is to retain our local water source to give us control and flexibility. Then we must enact a wellhead protection plan with an ongoing collaborative dialogue with property owners to protect our precious water source. In the 8 years I've been on council, we have balanced every budget and provided healthy general fund budget surpluses. Infrastructure improvements have been a priority, including a complete rehab of the wastewater treatment plant, 15 miles of roads paved, and a transformative zoning code that reinforces the fabric of the village. It allows for business expansion along the main corridors and expands the number of uses permitted in every district. And it increases density and reduces the size of residential units to improve affordability and provide a diversity of options. It is the character of Yellow Springs that has and will continue to attract artists, educators, healers, and creators to spur the economic growth that is so vital. Downtown is our heart as well as our shopping and cultural hub. I will continue to support projects that enhance but not change its character. I will continue to advocate for the arts and support community building projects that highlight our strengths, diversity, and value. I will seek out partnerships that support increased housing options and business and institutional growth. I am dedicated to keeping Yellow Springs a vibrant and vital community that welcomes all and enriches lives. There are many important projects to be completed, and I bring the institutional knowledge and critical thinking necessary to make sound decisions to see these projects through to completion. My resolve to serve this community has not waned, and I'm energized to tackle new projects. I reach out to multiple and varied constituencies, work to build consensus, have strong regional connections, and most importantly, bring experienced, pragmatic leadership to council. I ask for your vote on November 5th. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Dan Reyes. I'm trying to get the hang of the microphone. Am I in the sound range for you? I do have a soft voice by nature, so.
Not reaching.
Not reaching you guys in the back? No? Great, great. Out like that, more head on. Okay, different advice for every mic. One of the things I've heard before was pretend like it's an ice cream cone, which is kind of gross if you're sharing it with everybody, so I won't do that one. But, anyway, I was saying my name is Dan Reyes. I'm one of our candidates here for council, and I've tried to prepare some remarks for you that I'm not going to read verbatim. I'm hanging on to my glasses because there are a couple of points along the way that I do want to be more specific about, that I've jotted down some words that maybe matter. But I do want to say something about both my background and my intentions with coming here to ask for your support in my goal to serve you on council. Part of that begins, like a lot of these conversations this fall, whether they're in events or they're person to person, sharing stories about how we've gotten here, how long we've been here, the duration, the memory of the community, that sort of thing. And it's occurred to me now that, I mean, there's something useful in that, and there's something different about it when I can finally say, but only say, that I've been here about 10 years. I know there are people who've been here generations, and that's great too. But beyond duration, there's also this matter of expectation. And I think that's something I want to come around to, talking about why I want to serve you on council, talking about expectation and intention, and coming to a community 10 years ago that's a community whose reputation precedes it. Particularly, it precedes it as a community of conscience and intentionality in some ways. And I think that's an asset that's can be underestimated, that we ought to find ways to make some advantage of that, to see if there are some good things in our reputation that we can live up to, that we can work together to live up to, and to challenge ourselves to. But before getting on to that, I should say a few things about myself more generally, as far as what skills and experiences I bring to council. And it seems to me there are a couple of potentially relevant strands to that, and I'll go through this quickly. I can come back to it if you want. My first profession as a licensed architect gives me a set of skills that are relevant to a lot of the current issues and ongoing issues that the village faces, that I can read proposals and plans and analysis of physical development, urban planning, and such fairly smartly. And not to presume that I know everything, but I can bring some interesting perspectives to that. So I have a sort of nuts and bolts basis of my experience, although that doesn't really bring me here as far as a desire to be on council. It's really more from my experience in college teaching, and perhaps that's a little bit of a peculiar leap for some folks too. If you think of a teacher as someone who stands up and tells you what things are. My approach to teaching is more about dialogue, and it's based in a commitment that working together, we can, through deliberation and discussion, we can tease out some possibilities that we wouldn't find on our own. My work in college teaching has been in the humanities, literary and cultural studies, and philosophy as well. I find myself doing things like teaching courses on political philosophy, but it starts in the communities we live in. And so it's a wonderful opportunity to take some of those thoughts and some of that energy and try to engage with the village and its people to see what we can do together. And as well, I haven't been just sitting in the classroom these 10 years and sitting back contemplating this, but also being active in the community. I've served on village committees, design advisory when I first got here, more recently the Board of Zoning Appeals, which kind of goes back to my nuts and bolts experience, but I've also been involved with nonprofit organizing. Learned quite a lot with the Nonstop Institute project a few years back that was a sort of bridge between the incarnations of Antioch, a community taking care of itself and not waiting for someone from outside to fix everything for it. So all of those things inform my desires to be on council. I know I'm down to my last minute. I guess maybe an abbreviated version of what I'm hoping to do. As far as, I don't have a shopping list of issues that I must accomplish, but I want to come back to principles, to be able to enable the local, to build from our strengths, to build smart alliances, and also to be a critical and creative thinker, collaborative thinker with the other people in council and the village itself. Thanks, folks.
Good evening. My name is Brian Hausch, and I'm running for Village Council because I want to contribute my skills, particularly leadership, collaboration, and my being a doer to benefit our community, especially with a lot of the big decisions that are on the table right now. Many of you know me for a variety of hats that I've worn. Some of you know me for the YSopoly project, which was really fun and a great community collaboration. Others know me for being president of the YSKP board. Some of you know me for being the Arts Council guy and doing our community relations. A lot of people know me for being Principal Hausch's brother, or being Tyson and Kinji's uncle. And lately I've been the MC of the Bronze Sculpture Symposium, which has been really interesting as well. And I mention these things because in all cases, these contexts have allowed me to demonstrate that I am someone who can do things, I can communicate, I can lead, and I can make these projects come out successfully. And I think that's really important to see what I've done here. But for those of you that don't know the rest of my background, prior to being in Yellow Springs, I ran a successful small business for 10 years. Prior to that, I was an environmental lawyer, and I also worked for the New Orleans Legal Assistance. So I've had a lot of different experiences that I know will be important for many of the things that we need to do as a village. In particular, I really want to focus on leadership. And I think we need a leadership team that is going to be able to represent the community as a whole in a way that's going to benefit us and not just sustain what Yellow Springs is, but also enhance it. When I first thought about running, I came up with the slogan, "Keep Yellow Springs, Yellow Springs." And I want to qualify that because to me, to keep the village values that we respect, to keep our small town, to keep the community orientation, we can't just remain static. We have to think about things in terms of economic development. And that is one of the primary issues that I want to focus on and that I can bring a lot of benefit to. In particular, we're looking at issues that have been mentioned already, like the Center for Business and Education. There have been a lot of discussion about affordability in the village. And I think all of these come down to smart decisions about economic development, about better jobs for our residents, about healthy businesses, and about a diversified economy. And what I mean by that is it is great that we have become a destination town, and I really appreciate what Karen and the Chamber has done in that regard. But we need to think about building other businesses that we've lost, and that's been mentioned as well. So these are all things that I can bring a lot of strengths to, and I'm excited about helping with, and it's part of why I decided to run. The second issue that's really important to me encapsulates a lot of things that have been discussed related to decisions for the village manager, the next village manager, for how we're going to think about our water sourcing. And I mean, there are all kinds of issues that come up, as you know, for Yellow Springs. We're a vibrant town. There are a lot of things going on. And in particular, I want to work on how we can better develop community participation for local decision making. I think all of these issues come under that big issue, which is how do we make sure that as a village council, we are representing the citizens as a whole, and also how do we maximize participation. And anybody that's worked with me, and it's also in my brochure if you haven't seen it yet, know how I approach leadership. I'm rational, but that doesn't mean I'm not passionate. I'm really excited about the things that are going on. Engagement is incredibly important to me, and this is why I'm authentic, that's the A in reach, in that I want to listen to people and I want to understand what their concerns are and how we can make things better for everyone. And then of course, collaboration. And that's one of the things that I've been really lucky here in the village to get to be involved in so many projects and collaborate with great people. And I realized that on this piece of community participation, we need to rely on our local resources to contribute and develop these things in all manners, in all decisions. So, a lot more I could say, and I do want to emphasize that the brochure that I have in the back mentions a lot of this, but ultimately, I would appreciate you thinking about voting for me because I come to the table with an open mind. I know how to communicate, I know how to lead, and I will represent the community as a whole. Is that my time? Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Ken. Thank you. Please vote for Hausch.
Chrissy Cruz. Tell you a little about myself. First, I was born in Cincinnati, and I came to Yellow Springs in 1974 as a 13-year-old runaway, and I landed at Antioch College and fell in love with the town. I distinctly remember that I breathed an enormous sigh of relief at having found a place that was as close to my vision of an ideal community as I could find. I've lived here ever since, off and on. I moved away a couple of times, but I always came back. Currently, I live on Phillips Street with my grandson, Zachary, who is 11 years old and attends Mills Lawn School. In the past, I have worked as a nursing assistant at the Friends Care Center when they first went into nurse aid training, and I worked there in the Alzheimer's unit when they first opened the Alzheimer's unit. I also worked at the Community Children's Center for years as a substitute teacher. I raised 2 children here. I managed a glass shop in Dayton for a while, and for 8 years I was business coordinator and IT specialist for the SuperValue Corporation. Currently I'm self-employed. I have a home bakery business. I sell baked goods out of my home and at the farmer market on Saturday morning, where anyone can find me and come and talk to me anytime. The reason why I'm running for village council, first of all, and most importantly, is because I am passionate about Yellow Springs. I've made my home here for 40 years because it's a place that I love and believe in. Also, I enjoy exploring issues that affect our community and doing the research to gain the facts and knowledge necessary to make good choices. I want to see our village thrive and maintain its character so it can continue to be this place where I love to live. I strongly feel that citizens should be encouraged to participate in council decisions, and I feel that I'm a very approachable person, and also I'm willing to listen to both sides. I enjoy hearing different points of view. I learn a lot from those things. The 3 most important issues facing our village are, first of all, figuring out what to do about our water sourcing and distribution system. There's been a lot of footwork done as to the feasibility of refurbishing our current plant versus building a new plant, and all of those facts haven't come in yet, but the decision should be made as soon as possible once we get the final details. And my choice would be to keep the water local. I can't, unless we were in really hard times, I can't imagine that I would want us to get our water from Springfield. I'd like to say that. Finding our next village manager is also a priority, and that should be handled transparently and with full citizen participation. Last but not least, we need to continue to focus on building our village. It's important to our growth and sustainability to have new businesses and families come to Yellow Springs. But my perspective on how to do that is a different approach, perhaps, because I don't necessarily buy into the notion that we need to recruit or attract people to come here. Strong support for local businesses is key for attracting new businesses. Not only do our local businesses thrive when we are very supportive, as evidenced by the Millworks Brewery and EnviroFlight, but that effort will be an attractive asset to offer to new people. I believe we will be a stronger community if we focus on building from within. Yellow Springs is a special place, and we have so much going for us. Taking good care of our existing families will ensure that we are a happy and successful community, and others will recognize that and want to be part of it. It might sound bucolic and like a cliche to say this, but if you build it, they will come. I really believe that is true for Yellow Springs. If we take good care of the people that are here and live up to the promises that we've made to them, then other people will want to come here, and we won't have to talk them into it. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Mary Ann McQueen. I come from an eclectic family, I guess. Yes, my mother was an artist. My father was a small-town attorney. I have a brother who lives here, John McQueen, who's a musician, a brother in Cleveland who's a safecracker, and is coming, legitimate, so he said, coming to the bronze pour on Saturday because he's working in bronze. And I have a brother who's just retired as a city manager in New Hampshire. I was recently visiting family and friends, and I would point out this is the McQueen plaid. And I was visiting my brother Patrick in New Hampshire, and we had quite a long discussion about the role of village council and its relationship to village manager, and the things that I put in the Yellow Springs News come out of that conversation that I had with my brother, who was 17 years a city manager in Keene, New Hampshire, and 11 years in Berlin, New Hampshire. And the McQueen plaid tie is important to me because of my grandfather, who I think that's how I got my love of community. And my father once, who wasn't quite in the same place as his father, derided him for buying things locally, which he did, rather than going outside of town to get cheaper goods. And so I think, and I identify with my grandfather in that way. And when I came to Yellow Springs in the early 70s, I felt like I had come home. And I have lived in Yellow Springs ever since then, and I have been passionate about this community because it's been a place where I've been able to grow. And the reason why I'm running for village council is because I've worked in Yellow Springs ever since I moved here in a variety of capacities and have volunteered in a variety of capacities. And I'm now semi-retired. I live with my partner, Patty Dallas, and we have the village guest house. So I have the time to devote to village council. Ever since I moved here and I first knew the Bents, and Tony Bent was on village council, I was impressed. I thought, wow, I know someone in village council. And now, at the end of my career, or near the end of my career, I feel like I'm in a place where I can do that. I have a lot of skills to bring, and I feel like I want to make a contribution. I want to leave a legacy. So as I was thinking of what's important to me, what my platform, I guess I'm nervous. I thought of three principles. One, accountability. To me, that means fiscal accountability at the bottom line. It also means doing what I say I'm going to do. And as a principle for us in a village, it means that we're all accountable to each other, I think. The second principle that I thought of was sustainability. And I think of Arthur Morgan's term, long-range pragmatism. I was really attracted to Yellow Springs because of Arthur Morgan, and I had a chance to work with him when I first moved here. And, you know, Morgan was, maybe 100 years ahead of his time, because he was talking about sustainability way back in the beginning of the 1900s, and now we're just starting to catch on to what that really means for us. And the third term that I thought of, the third principle, is community. And to me, that means we're all in this together. And I thought that might be what I would say was my slogan, but some of my friends thought it was a little too, I only have one more. Okay, so the things that I would like to talk about briefly are economic development. And when I think about economic development, I'm thinking about economic development from within the community, starting at the very smallest scale, home businesses, which is something that I thought was very critical as I was working on the zoning code. And all of the businesses that people have mentioned and that have grown in Yellow Springs have come up from Yellow Springs. We haven't had to attract them. The second thing that I'd like to talk about is we have a lot of decisions that the community and village council is going to have to make. The water sourcing plan, the village manager, fair acres, sewer and water, and some of these are very controversial. What I bring to the village council is my background in mediation And what I hope to do when I'm on village council is listen and include all of the voices of the different constituencies in the village. Thank you.
Would you join me in thanking the whole panel? Most of the questions I've received thus far are applicable to all the candidates. So at this point, let me suggest, Mary Ann, if you hang on to the, we have some other ones waving over here. Mary Ann, if you hang on to the microphone and begin, and we'll move the microphone back this way. And again, if each of you would stand when you respond to the question, would be helpful. You'll each have 2 minutes to respond to each question. The first one is, how should the village go about attracting new businesses to the community? And what should the role of the village council be in accomplishing this? And I'll repeat the question if anybody asks me to. Please.
As I was saying, I think that we should focus within. This village is rich in human resources and in natural resources. And I think our main focus should be within. In terms of the village council, there are a number of things the council can do directly and some things the council can do indirectly. Directly, the council, there has been a proposal to have the community resources, our Community Improvement Corporation, become a designated CIC. This will create a stronger linkage between the village government and village council and the community resources. We have an economic sustainability commission that is not functioning now, but that's something else that could be reenacted. We also have a revolving loan fund that the council can invigorate to support small businesses. There are other things that council can do in support of businesses, working with Antioch College, working with the Chamber of Commerce, things such as an entrepreneurial commission, helping to see that the business incubator becomes revised. So basically what I think is focusing within on the skills, the richness of the human resources that we have, and utilize the natural resources, for example, the rich farmland that we have. The college, I don't know if I mentioned the college, but I think that the potential for the college as it is growing will be as great as the college was once in terms of helping the village develop economically.
I agree with a lot of what Marian just said. I think we need to be very supportive of local businesses. I also think that being very supportive of Antioch's regrowth is key to rebuilding our community. When the college is full and vibrant, it brings not only students, but staff, faculty, visitors to our community, and the businesses that grow are businesses that support the college, things that students need. I was talking with someone today about some of the businesses that used to be in town a long time ago, like the Molador and the Five and Dime store that were around forever, because they needed to be here for the college. So I think looking within, being supportive of local businesses, that's going to be the most important thing.
We'll probably get a little bit repetitive here, but I do want to clarify that I think the important thing as far as village council's role is to facilitate conditions that are going to allow for responsible economic development. And when I use the word responsible economic development, I'm particularly thinking about the things that we want to maintain, such as a thriving downtown, which is why, as Christine actually mentioned, the focus of the CBE, the Center for Business and Education, is on businesses that would be complementary, and the zoning is very clear about that. And I think it's important that the village council maintains that integrity of the intent. I also think that we can promote economic development similar to what I've heard both candidates say so far, in terms of collaborations with our local residents and our local businesses. And there are definitely, and I mentioned this in my own talk, human resources that we have right here in town that we want to take advantage of and get involved in the planning. Ultimately, I think we have to look at multiple avenues, and business incubation would be a great thing to bring back to Yellow Springs. Antioch College is not ready for that, but I think that they're in that mode to get there. And so what we need to look at now is what can we do short term and potentially long term, like the CBE, but we also need to be actively and creatively thinking how we can promote economic development in other ways.
I think there, similar to what Brian was saying, there are probably a variety of ingredients that go into answering this question in practice. How do you create I'm probably going to restate the question a little bit differently. How do you create and maintain a vibrant community in terms of its economic sense? The businesses that help in some relationship to all the other things going on here to create an interesting and supportive community for us. I think one of the things that we should take some care to think about, to be deliberate about it, is to avoid some of the pitfalls that I've seen other communities in similar circumstances in these economic times fall into, which is kind of chasing the market just for its own sake, aspiring to a kind of blankness, in effect, to make oneself out as the welcome mat for everything and anything. And this is back a bit to what I was talking about at the beginning with our reputation that precedes us, and perhaps living up to it, becoming putting our foot forward as being a thoughtful and smart and creative community, one that values social and economic justice, for instance. That these things attract attention to us in a positive way, that find us relationships with businesses and individuals and organizations that share our values and that help us build on our strength to come back to the local, to the community that we already are, and to head forward in a direction that makes sense to the people who have been here for all these years, who've been putting their energy into it, to attract more folks who would say, I would like to live there. I'd like to either work for the people that are there or find a way to establish my business in such a place. So that's a strategy that comes back to our specificity. Again, there's more than one form this could take, but it works within the framework that we have at our disposal. Thanks.
Well, there's a lot to this, and I spend all of my time on this. We actually, all of our businesses aren't homegrown. EnviroFlight did intentionally move to Yellow Springs, and people worked very hard to get it here, and EnviroFlight is an incredibly exciting opportunity for this community. People were ready. The people at Millworks welcomed them. The village worked with them in zoning. So there are opportunities for new businesses to come here, and I can tell you that any old business is not going to come to Yellow Springs. They're going to come here because they want to be here, because they have something to offer Yellow Springs, and because we have something to offer them. So business attraction to me is exciting because it's going to be something that builds Yellow Springs and adds to it and enhances what we already have, because the people that will want to come here because of our values. Obviously, the easiest thing to do and the thing we should be doing every day is supporting our existing businesses. Village government, infrastructure, providing good infrastructure, providing quality services, being responsive with zoning, with utility issues. From a financial standpoint, I think one of our best tools is infrastructure. We own the infrastructure, we own the utilities. There are things we can do financially to help our businesses. We've done it with Antioch College, we've done it with YSI, and as a result, they're both growing, where we've helped by extending utilities to them. So I think that it's growing from within, and looking for businesses that will work well in Yellow Springs, that will enhance the community.
Well, there's not much left. When I think about this, though, I think about the mindfulness that we need to bring as a community. The mindfulness that we need to bring as a community. The forward-thinking, progressive group that we are, environmentally conscious, sustainably thoughtful. We need to simply make sure that we hold ourselves out as the kind of place that people would aspire to, that attracts others like us. These are the people who are potentially interested in moving their businesses to Yellow Springs, and starting a business here, being a part of this community. I know that Yellow Springs is an inspiration to many. We see them all on the weekends. We need to simply do what we do consciously, so that for those few who are out there and aspire to being a part of this community, that they might become. Thank you.
I see this as a value for all the entrepreneurs in our area to have a spot in Yellow Springs. Not only for all of us who want to start something, but all who want to join. The CBE is a fantastic growth space for the businesses that we have already. Right now, we have no opportunity to offer them space without the CBE being developed. I was speaking with the community resources people the other day and was really shocked to find out that just in the last year, we have missed 70 possible businesses to come to our CBE park. Now, obviously, maybe none of them were for us, or maybe just a couple were for us. But without having the opportunity, we can't choose. We have no opportunity to know what fantastic new business will come and make our lives better. Increase our taxes. Well, offset our taxes. We don't need an increase. Without this help, we can't grow as Yellow Springs and come together as a community. So obviously, we've all said we all do support our local businesses, and we all know I have 2 businesses in town, so obviously I'm a big business supporter here in town. I like the ideas of growing with Antioch College, but again, it's not quite there yet. We're working on it. So I just think being more mindful in choosing the companies that we would like to see come to Yellow Springs is first and foremost. And being a good supporter of the businesses that we have here in town.
Ditto 7 times. All that's left is to give my opinion, and that is that Yellow Springs attracts. They're coming, they're scratching, screaming, and kicking to get in here, and it's just a matter of the right fit for us.
Thank you all. Fair warning, we're going to go back in this way, but then we're going to start in the middle and work out. And I'll surprise you as to which one is to start. And let me also suggest that candidates will probably score points with the audience if they don't repeat what somebody else has already said, particularly given the pile of questions I had to go through here. Okay, next question. Let's start at this end and work that way. Do you have any creative ideas on how to maintain, increase racial and ethnic diversity in Yellow Springs? Again, do you have any creative ideas on how to maintain or increase racial and ethnic diversity in Yellow Springs?
I'm very creative, but I'm going to start with conversation. I think that's real important, communication. And I'm also very naive. I don't see the diversity or other things that may be going on. I think I live in a perfect community, but that's just me.
I think offering more jobs will bring people to town. Without jobs, no one can live here. You know, our affordability is a big issue for us. And living wages are what we need. A lot of the businesses downtown can't afford a living wage. We've had many discussions about this on our public forum on Facebook. And I'd love it if more businesses were able to give living wages, $15 an hour, $20 an hour here downtown, but it's just not feasible for most of us. With that being said, if we're inviting companies that can provide that for us, we're going to add an enormous amount of people to our community. I think that's going to bring a lot of different diversity to our community.
I don't know if it's creative, but obviously our schools are incredibly important. Schools are incredibly important. Jobs are important. Just having housing. I mean, we need more housing of different kinds. We need rental. We need senior housing. So maybe some of the big houses open up to families. You know, we've got a proud heritage of diversity. On the one hand, you know, we are seeing some decline of diversity. I don't think it's quite as precipitous as some people as it's been portrayed. But back after World War II, I know a lot of the folks, and probably a lot of the folks that are here, came to Yellow Springs because it was a welcoming community for World War II vets. And they were working at Wright Pat, and Yellow Springs was a place that welcomed them, and they could purchase property. The good thing is that every community, or almost all communities, are welcoming everybody now, and I think the fact that people have more options is good. I would love to do whatever we can. I know Judith's really always wanted to emphasize our diversity more and our history more. And I think we can do that. I think the 365 group and supporting them, supporting the work of the HRC towards diversity is something that we can also do.
Well, it's an interesting question to try to tackle in 2 minutes, and I don't think that it's possibly going to settle it on the stage here tonight, but it is a concern if our diversity is diminishing. Perhaps in 10 years I've not seen the full range of what's going on, although I have heard stories of times when the diversity and the welcomingness of Yellow Springs was one of its proud features, and it's perhaps, for reasons Karen was just mentioning, fallen a little bit to the wayside as the culture around us has gotten a little bit more inclusive by its disposition. But there are still ways in which social and particularly economic pressures weigh more heavily upon minority groups and people from different ethnic and minority backgrounds. It also cuts across generations as well, folks that are in their retirement years and also people that are beginning their careers feel these economic pressures more intensely than some of us in the sort of middle years and perhaps in a secure situation. So we do risk becoming more narrow if we don't take care of the whole community. That's what I've thought about when I've written and spoken a little bit before about being a community that values, that takes seriously its commitment to social and economic justice, that deals with issues connected to wages and costs, and the pressures that bear upon people, which are also for people coming out of college, substantial debt. Also, to the extent that we can think about taxation as it bears upon different parts of our community differently as well. So it's a more complicated picture than I can get at in a 2-minute answer, but it's one that deserves our attention if we want to be serious about being diverse and being inclusive, to take care of the variety of needs of the variety of our members.
So one thing I think we're doing already, which is great, is supporting our schools. And Karen mentioned this, and I strongly support all the innovative things that we're doing in the school system are helping to promote diversity and attract people to our community of all different backgrounds. I also think I would extend this to what's going on at Antioch College and the fact that we're building up the university, the college in particular in that system, and bringing people back into the community and people that are going to want to stay here. Practically, I know it's not the question, I also agree that focusing on economic development and thinking about affordability is how we're going to promote that. But one of my creative ideas is to leverage our creative community. And with the work that I've done, I've seen this in the Yellow Springs Experience events that we've had. CERT Carnival, if you remember the last couple of years, it didn't happen this year, brought people into town who actually moved here. We saw a couple of emails where people are like, I just love this community event so much, I want to come to this community. And these were people from varying backgrounds. I think similarly, things that are going on with the Sculpture Symposium that I've been involved in. I'm seeing people through Facebook, through coming into town, who are really excited about Yellow Springs. And so I have to, kind of think what Patty was saying, extending that. We're doing some right things, and we need to keep on leveraging that so that we can continue to be a welcoming community.
No, I don't have any creative ideas about how to increase racial diversity in Yellow Springs. I think that the main thing is just to continue being who we are. We've always been, had a reputation for being a more welcoming community, a more open-minded community. I think part of the problem, I have seen figures about the racial diversity levels shifting. I think part of that is just like someone else mentioned. Other places are more accepting, like Yellow Springs, too. And so there are more choices of places for people to live. And also, when our young people grow up and they're ready to go off and start careers of their own, the same thing is happening in our ethnic communities, and we're losing diversity in that way. But really, no, I don't have any creative ideas. I think it's a very important thing. The more diversity in our village, the better we are. I enjoy all kinds of people, and no, I just don't. I can't think of any creative. Sorry.
Well, I think the question was how to increase racial and ethnic diversity. As a white person, I think in some ways I'm limited, and really it would be an appropriate question to ask both people within Yellow Springs and outside of Yellow Springs who represent different racial and ethnic minorities. So that's a caveat that I would say. The more that we can actually embody being a welcoming community and welcoming the diversity that exists in our community, whatever kind of diversity it is, I would think would make people feel safe and inclined to want to come into Yellow Springs. And one of the things that, I think there are some things that Village Council can do. The council has been doing some things in the past, and I think there are some things that can be done in the future, both at council meetings and outside of council meetings. For example, one thing that council does is have a place for citizens' concerns. But it's very frightening for a lot of people to even come to a council meeting, and then to actually step up and talk in council is a whole nother level. It's not comfortable for a lot of people. And I think there are a few things that can be done in a council meeting to make that more comfortable. Also, we have the Human Relations Commission, as was mentioned, and the Village Mediation Program. And both of those organizations which are associated with village government, as well as other organizations that have been mentioned, things that are going on in the high school, things that are going on at the college, I think are ways that we can be conscious of diversity and being welcome of diversity.
Thank you all. Piggybacking on that question, would you pass that down to Karen? We'll start with her and come this way. Piggybacking on the last question, how can Yellow Springs become more immigrant friendly? Like Dayton, for example.
I mean, I know that Dayton did a lot of work on that. Boy, that's a hard one. I don't know that I have an answer to that other than being welcoming as we are. I know that is something that a lot of communities are doing as a growth strategy, and I think it's an excellent one. I don't honestly know what the steps that they are taking to make that happen.
I'm going to start sitting down.
One thing we do quite well in this community is we have a lot of exchange students attending our high school. I think not that the village proper has much input in that, but obviously that's a place that we can share our vision, attract people from other countries who hear about Yellow Springs, learn about its uniqueness, and who knows where that could go, but that's what I'm going to give you tonight.
So I think that's kind of a hard question. It kind of piggybacks on, like you said, the last question. I think availability of economic opportunity is really what makes everyone go to a certain place. I know a lot of people come to Dayton because they get to open shops there. The retail space is really cheap. Ours isn't. So that's a little difficult spot there. I don't think we're immigrant unfriendly. I just don't know that we really focus on that yet.
Continue to wrap our arms around everyone that's in Yellow Springs, as we have always done.
Yeah, it's some of the same strategies as far as being inclusive to diversities would seem to carry over to the encouragement of immigrant communities. I certainly taking some care not to misstep and put out the you're not welcome message that some communities have, probably without intending it to do so, have made to immigrants. But that's not been an issue that I've studied closely as it relates to our region and to the Yellow Springs. So we probably have to learn a little bit more about who the different groups being affected would be. I mean, we do have some nice characteristics of this community for its scale, for its size of just being a village of a few thousand people that represent folks from various national and ethnic backgrounds compared to many other small Ohio communities of our size. But that doesn't really answer the question of what do we need to do or be in order to be safe and welcoming for an immigrant community.
Certainly I would re-highlight some of the other issues that we mentioned before: economic development, creativity, diversity in that way. But one of the things that some of you may know is many of our community members are involved in things like the Dayton International Festival, which is called a World Affair. In fact, Rita Katz is part of that community. We also have DJ Juju in town, who is often bringing forth Latin-related music events and things of that sort. So my first thought would be, if it is something that as a community we think we really need to put some energy into, we have people here that would love to be those ambassadors, and we could certainly rely on the things that we have already. This would be an issue in my mind where it would be community members that I, as a village council member, would go to get insight about this and brainstorm and come up with ideas that we could collaborate on. But I also think it does come back to education and what a great school system we have, and the fact that it does accommodate special needs in terms of language, in terms of abilities and whatnot, and similarly economic development. But I can't say enough about our creative community.
That's a really hard question. But my first thoughts on it is that thinking back on my experiences, most of the time when I've seen families move here, immigrate here, we as a community really get a kick out of having those new people around and different flavors to add to our community. So I really don't, I could be wrong, but I don't see that this is would be a big issue. I think that as long as we continue to do what I was talking about earlier, take good care of those that are here. If there are people who have immigrated here, they're going to tell their families who are possibly wanting to immigrate somewhere. I guess I would stick with the theme of taking good care of the people that are already here. So that's that. That is a tricky question.
I think we are an immigrant-friendly community. I think that historically, for example, Renee had Japanese people come, I think, even while they were being interned during the Second World War. And there have been various immigrants. I think we probably have a higher population of people from other countries living here than a lot of the other communities in the area. We are small, though. So for immigrants who need and want to be close to other people from their own country, we're too small, I think, to be able to offer that just because of the size.
Mary Ann, if you'd hang on to it and come back again this way. Are there any matters that may come before council from which you would recuse yourself? If so, which ones might they be? It's a question for everyone.
What was the last part?
It's, are there any matters that may come before council from which you would recuse yourself? If so, which ones might they be?
There could be matters. For example, as I mentioned, I am co-owner of the Village Guest House. So if there were decisions to be made about short-term stay places to be made at the council level, that would be the kind of thing I would recuse myself from. My understanding is generally a council member will recuse him or herself if there's a conflict of interest, and a conflict of interest is defined as having a financial interest or someone in that person's family having a financial interest in the matter at hand. There could be other situations which I can't think of right now in which I might feel that I had a very strong, such a strong opinion about something that I wouldn't be able to really look at it effectively, but I can't think of.
No.
Yeah, I would probably have to say no as well, but currently I'm the president of the YSKP, so if there was specifically a policy that was coming forth about the YSKP, then I would certainly recuse myself.
Yeah, I'll go with a pretty short no on that too, just with the condition, understanding that if one becomes an owner or board member or somehow officer of an organization has business before council, it's appropriate to disclose that and recuse ourselves, but not currently.
I would have to point out that Dan's correct, that everybody would have to recuse themselves if there was a matter about their property or something that was near to their property. So everybody has the potential of having a conflict of interest. And everybody probably knows that I've recused myself. When there is discussion of chamber business, I will recuse myself. And when there is discussion of My husband's an architect, and he does do work in town, so when projects that he is involved with come before council, I've always recused myself, and again, when anything to do with property that I own, I have to recuse myself.
I believe I'm not currently engaged in anything that's likely to come before council, so no.
I would reiterate with Karen, anything to do with mine and Don's businesses or properties, I would then have to recuse myself.
Wow, a subject I was really going to talk on, but no.
If you could hand that back to Karen again, and we'll work our way this way. Oh, I'm sorry. This is for Karen and Rick Walkie.
For me, so I guess I have to take this one.
Did you vote for or against fluoride in our water system? And why or why not? And for those of you who are not currently on council, what is your position on fluoride in the water?
I voted, I voted to keep fluoride in the water. Part of the reason for doing that was because there was such strong sentiment in a large portion of the community that we keep fluoride. I did appreciate a lot of the research that we received. And so if I would have been, I will be honest, if I would have been the deciding vote, I don't know how I would have voted. I voted no, or I voted to keep the fluoride in the water because I wanted to represent the citizens who felt very strongly about it. I know that there are some studies going on now. There was something in the paper about it today, I think, and we got a report from Greene County Health Department about some surveys and studies that are going on in Mills Lawn right now related to dental care and dental health of the students. There seems to be a slight bit of evidence that it has impacted. I don't know how much it has. I think maybe there are other ways for us to deal with fluoride and through education and maybe other kinds of treatments. At this point, I probably wouldn't support adding fluoride back into the water.
Yes, I was on council at the time that that vote was taken. In fact, I was a member of the Environmental Commission who worked on that. Pardon me. I was.
Stand up. Stand up.
Will that help? I was on the Environmental Commission at the time that that investigation was undertaken. We spent over a year researching and digging deeply into all the data we could come up with. It was determined at that time by the Environmental Commission that there was no compelling reason to continue ingesting fluoride, as it served no benefit to your dental health per se. We, at that time, made that recommendation to council, and council then went ahead and sponsored several forums where we invited many educated presenters to present both sides. I haven't seen the newest released report from Greene County, although I suspect that they're premature. This is probably a study that's going to take many years to have any meaning. So after a year or even 2 years, I don't think we're going to get any reliable data out of that. I continue to oppose the addition of fluoride in our drinking water, but I can be proven wrong with the right set of data. Thank you.
I guess had I been on council at the time, I would have voted against fluoride. When I was a kid, we had a program called Swish, and it was this, we, after lunch, stand outside of our homerooms and we have this Dixie cup of fluoride treatment, and we were supposed to, swish it in our mouths and then put it back into the cup. And I know that did help a lot of kids dental, but you weren't supposed to ingest it. So I honestly see no benefit in ingesting it, but I would be interested in maybe supporting a school project like Swish.
No, we can add fluoride in ourselves.
Similarly, it seemed to me there are a number of opportunities for us to seek and add fluoride, and you almost have to go out of your way to avoid it, with every toothpaste, commercial toothpaste on the market being a fluoride toothpaste for as long as I could remember. And also dentists offering fluoride treatment. It seemed to me the report that was in the paper was driving at the evidence about dental health. I gather, Rick, I wasn't there for all of the deliberations when you guys saw this in council some years ago, but it was a more complex set of questions rather than dental health by itself. It's what sort of overall health impacts does fluoride have. So there'd have to be a review and some evidence that would be occasion for revisiting that decision to come back to it. It's possible there could be. But as fluoride and dental health go, I think we're pretty well set at the moment. I hope nobody's feeling fluoride deprived and neglected by my comment. Thank you.
I was at a James A. McKee Association meeting where some of the new evidence was presented about fluoride in the water, and I have to admit that, I mean, it would be an issue where I'd need to see all the evidence, and I'd want to understand where the community consensus is on this. But my stance is I want the facts. I want to make decisions based on those facts, balanced with our village values.
When this issue was first being discussed in Village Council a while back, I looked into it, and from everything that I had read and seen, people are vigilant about brushing their teeth and taking good care of their teeth. There's absolutely no reason to have fluoride in our water, so I would not vote for fluoride to be put into our water. Why take the risk or the chances?
This is an issue on which I have been starting to educate myself, and I've been approached by people on both sides of the issue. And unfortunately, there are experts who say, yes, it should be in the water, and there are experts that say, no, it shouldn't. I think everyone does agree that it is important for dental health. So at this point, I wouldn't say which way I would go if it were to come to council. What I would do would be talk more thoroughly with people in our community and probably have them get together with each other and see where there is agreement and where there is clearly disagreement. If the decision were to continue, which what we have now, well, we do have fluoride in our water. It's naturally occurring. It is not at, I think it's like 0.4 instead of 1, whatever the ratio is. I would also support other methods of making sure that young people, young children have the opportunity to have fluoride in some way for dental protection.
May I make a quick suggestible intervention?
I'm sorry?
I was just wondering if I can make a suggestion for the speakers, particularly Mr. Reyes and Mr. Walkie and you, Mr. Moderator, that
Yes.
have a bass tone of voice, albeit uncomfortable, if you could try to raise your register into a higher tone. It's not really translating, and by the time it gets back here through the speakers, it sounds a little low. So if
I could joke and say that I can't quite hear you, but I won't do that. Gentlemen, we can take that under advisement. Thank you.
There are seats in the front, too.
I'm sorry?
There are seats in the front.
Yes, there are seats in the front. Next question, and let's pass it down to Dan. You can start this one. We often hear the expression, think globally, act locally. What do you think the village council can or should do to encourage move in this direction? That is the direction of carbon neutrality. And the author of this question suggests that this is now being modeled by Lillian College.
Excuse me, it's a ecology and carbon neutrality.
Yes, so what can the village council, what can or should the council do to encourage a move towards carbon neutrality?
Oh, okay. The council I know has made some efforts before to look at the village's energy portfolio and has, I think, made some generally wise decisions about managing it in a way that's ecologically conscientious. And I think the return of Antioch College, taking ecology in the center of its curriculum can only help with this, to broaden and enrich the conversation and make us aware of some of the options and some of the, I mean, it's not just options, but some of the implications and impacts of our practice in terms of energy and resources that we're, as we're living here together in this little village social common, that we take care of the bigger natural common that we rely upon, that brings all the resources that we need that are a little bit out of sight most of the time. That's a pretty broad answer to that, and maybe I'm missing something of the point of the question, but yeah, the global and the local are increasingly connected these days, and making use of it for learning how to live in the world, not just how to shop around the world, makes a lot of sense to me.
Well, I think first of all, the village has been making a lot of steps in the right direction, including the promoting of green energy. We have a lot of movement towards solar power. I see businesses doing this, the corner cones, getting a new roof with solar panels on it. So I would certainly want to continue to promote these moves, but I would also like to see how we can think as a model group and using Antioch College as a impetus for this to promote other things that make so much sense for our village. Less driving, more carpooling, walking, biking, all the things that we can do locally. And so I think it's we're in an ideal position, being in Yellow Springs, to follow this mantra. Think locally, think globally, act locally. I've also seen a lot of topics come up at village council meetings, such as should we have a hook-in for electric cars, as those are becoming more popular. And so I think we need to continue to explore those kinds of things, because we are a great area to promote and test and encourage these sort of activities.
I think Yellow Springs people, as a rule, have been pretty good about this carbon footprint situation, and village council encouraging villagers to walk places with the Safe Routes to School program, maintaining the sidewalks. We keep the bike path. We encourage people to ride their bicycles. And the addition of the yellow line, that now we can take the bus to go to Xenia or wherever we need to go at an incredible bargain. I mean, you can't drive a car those places for as little as it costs to ride the bus, and it's very convenient. So I think Village Council should just continue doing what they've been doing. Yellow Springs has always been supportive of walkers and bike riders and low carbon footprint. So I think we just need to continue on that path.
Village Council has already been moving toward sustainable energy in terms of like hydropower, solar power, in terms of the electricity that we're getting in, and I see that continuing. The council can do things in terms of what the village government is doing, but there are things, for example, the Yellow Springs News, which has been doing, promoting things like the passive house that we now have several of. There's so much work being done in Yellow Springs by local builders and other people, the Energy Commission, on looking at ways of conserving energy and lower use of fossil fuel, and continually showing these up as examples, I think, is important. Just simple things like, I think the village government sponsored people to come in with fluorescent light bulbs, and we're giving them away in the village building. And as was mentioned, the Antioch College, I think, is something we can really look toward and support. They have a goal of becoming carbon neutral within 10 to 20 years. And so the more we can support the college and learn from that, the better that will be for the community as a whole, as an example.
People have alluded to the fact that our energy portfolio, our electric portfolio is very green. In a couple of years, when the hydro that the contracts, when that goes live, will be 85% green, 85% sustainable, which is pretty amazing. I don't know that there's another community that could claim that. We recently passed the net metering ordinance, which means that citizens can hook on primarily with solar or wind, and they'll get a return, the same return on what they pay for their power, they'll get back for what they generate. So that's a financial investment. We just renewed our contract with AMP for their Efficiency Smart program that puts money into homeowners and businesses' pockets. A lot of people have taken advantage of it. It's how Tom got his new lights. He got a rebate for his new lights. Antioch, they're working with Antioch College. The village has actually gotten rebates for for the new street lights we put in, and also the fluorescent lights that Mary Ann mentioned. So there's a lot of things that we're doing, but actually the best thing we could do is have jobs. Local jobs means that people don't have to leave the village, get in their cars and leave the village. So if we can build and add local jobs, that will be the best thing we can do.
I would just add to Mary Ann, to Karen's comments, that council has done all that in the past years. We have, as she points out, a very nearly 80 to 85% sustainable portfolio in the next couple of years. A couple of other things that we've done on advice largely from the Energy Board, which I am the representative to, is we relamped the entire village with a higher efficiency bulbs, thereby reducing our carbon footprint substantially. Another project that we've been working on has been to attempt to roll out a program within the village to encourage home audits, home energy audits. We've met with a fair amount of resistance, and we don't know why. It's a pretty substantial undertaking. It requires a fair amount of interest and effort on the part of homeowners. We are stymied as to why we're not getting a better response, but indeed that's something that we are moving ahead on. That will save a great deal of energy and consequently carbon. And carbon neutral is the gold standard. It's just a goal. We're working at it. It's not something that we will achieve, but it's well worth working at. Thank you.
I also support doing energy audits and working with community members. Maybe you guys don't necessarily know there are some rebates that companies will give for certain light bulbs, certain better appliances. Would promote community gardens, maybe village composting, but I think there are all kinds of really cool green ideas that we can all come up with to lessen our community carbon footprint.
We are doing an excellent job of green energy here in Yellow Springs, and this is another example of my perfect world.
Thank you again. Let me suggest to increase energy levels, prevent people from falling asleep, that we take a 1-minute break by standing up turning around and welcoming the persons next to you, all around you. Introduce yourself and congratulate them for attending this evening. You have 1 minute.
Hi, how are you? Hi, Chris. How are you?
Thank you. You have 10 more seconds to leave discreetly if that's what you're planning to do. Will you take your seats, please? I'm going to ask the next question. Okay. Thank you. The next question is regarding the relationship of the village manager to the village council. The question is, what do you believe to be the appropriate relationship between the village manager and the village council? More specifically, what should the role of the village manager be in relationship to council? And after Kent Bristol returns to being a regular villager, what does the council need to do to retain the next village manager? Shall I ask it again? Yeah. And regarding the relationship of the village manager to village council, what do you believe the appropriate relationship between the two should be? And more specifically, what should the role of the village manager be in relationship to council? What does the council need to do to retain the next village manager?
Respect is about the only thing that really comes to my mind. What? Respect is what I think the relationship should be, and it should also be with courtesy too. And how to retain one is to keep the respect and the communications going always, in all directions. And what about Kent?
We have a charter that specifically outlines what the village manager's responsibilities are for our village and to in relation to our council. And so I think if the village manager can just stick to their duties and we can stick to our duties, we can act as a team to best serve our community. Like Patty said, respect each other and really work out problems, talk through them, and not be so polarized against certain issues. Because really, we've got to solve problems for the betterment of all of us. It can't be personal. So I think if we can just keep that going, we're going to be really successful.
The relationship. See, I think the most valuable thing from my standpoint as a current council member is when the manager has his or her boots on the ground, knows the resources, knows how to get things done, advises council on all the possibilities, all the issues that we need to consider when we make policy. That's, to me, the most important part of that relationship is the manager's willingness to communicate whatever information council ultimately needs to make the proper decisions. And insofar as retaining managers, I suspect that choosing the correct one would go a long way.
Council sets policy and the manager enacts the policy. Council has, I think, 4 employees, the manager, direct employees, the manager, the solicitor, our clerk, and the treasurer. Everybody else works for the manager. So council has no direct input into any staffing issues. We set the policy, we ask the manager and the staff to provide us with recommendations, to provide us with information that we need to make the decisions. We work for you folks, we work for the people that elect us, so there has to be obviously community values, community interests taken into account when we're making our decisions, and I think that our staff and manager need to be aware of what those are. I mean, we need to be going down the right direction when we're making decisions. And obviously a good dialogue, a respectful dialogue is obviously important. As far as retaining one, I mean, I think Rick's right. I think that's a pretty good point. We're a community of 3,700 and we don't have the highest pay scale for a village manager. So for anybody that's looking, Yellow Springs is going to be a stepping stone for a lot of people. So I think I would love to be searching for somebody that was going to make a commitment to staying in Yellow Springs for a certain amount of years. I think that the world has changed though, and I think I was actually in a meeting today where we were talking about the number of municipal and government managers between Xenia and Yellow Springs. There are 5 major administrators leaving within the next year. So it is retiring. So there aren't as many people going into the business, and we need, it's going to be tough for us, and we need to have a community collaboration on it.
Okay. Yeah, I can build on that perhaps a little bit. I think Karen made a good characterization of how the structure of this works, that the manager is the key public administrator that the council has some input on, or has primary responsibility for hiring and working out the relationship with. Some of that's already established by charter, although there are details of the relationship that get fleshed out in the actual practice when someone's hired, when they have a contract, when they have a charge from a particular person has a charge from a particular council. And I'm going on with this a little bit that in the time that I've been here, which is just the 10 years or so, another way of counting it is by how many managers we've had come through. And I think, Kent, you're up to number 6 of people that I could call manager, which is no offense meant to any of those people. I mean, I think there have been some interesting and talented people who've taken on the job in the village, but it hasn't been a perfect fit or an enduring fit for some time. Maybe that's a product of the industry, so to say, of public administration today, but it seems to me it's a call for us to re-examine the position and to re-examine what we're asking for, to make sure that we're not asking for something that's contributing to the quick turnover that we've been having. The other thing is to make sure that we have some meaningful public process in this. And I think there's probably some wide agreement that's got to be part of this, that while by charter the council is the one who votes to make the decision about hiring the manager, we're here to represent all of you who vote for us. So we don't want to short circuit either of these democratic processes in finding that person. And I suppose one last thing that I think I'd mentioned at a recent meeting of council when this issue came up, that there might be an opportunity, if indeed there's a feeling to revisit this, to solicit some input and do sort of post-occupancy interviews with a few of the people who've occupied this position of manager before. We've been beginning to do that in higher education to understand that learning what was learned from students sometimes has to be asked later. That could also be with managers. Thanks.
The most important thing that the village council needs to bring forward with the village manager is leadership. And that is something that, beyond the policy setting, has got to be really important when we think about the future of that relationship. In particular, I also think that part of being a good leader is that we don't micromanage the village manager. And the way that we're going to avoid doing that is to make sure that trust is established. And this ties directly into the retention piece of the question. If we do not have a solid process where we really get to know each other, the village manager, the village council, the community, then that trust is not going to be built. We're not going to have a successful scenario. And I do believe that we can find some people that are really excited about the opportunities in Yellow Springs and will want to stay here longer. But again, it's got to be about strong leadership.
Well, I'm pretty sure that a lot of you here know that I have very strong views on the village manager position. I think that it's so very important that the community be involved in choosing a new village manager. If there's going to be support for this person, we have to be involved in that decision. And I think also that perhaps it's time to rethink maybe what the village manager's job and duties should be, because maybe that's part of the reason why we're having a hard time hanging on to a village manager. Maybe we're not being clear enough about what we expect from them. In my mind, I think a village manager should be one of the best tools in village council's toolbox. When an issue comes up, the village manager should be able to present them with all the information that they need to make those decisions without being biased, without leaving out the important answers. Because I think that part of the problem with the past village manager was when you have a bias, I don't feel like village council gets all the information they need and it drags out the process. I really think that some of the issues shouldn't have taken so long to resolve. And therefore, it might be important to rethink some aspects of the village manager. But that's about what I have to say about that. I'm hopeful that we could find a new village manager that's someone that actually already lives somewhere nearby, somebody that would really like to come and be part of Yellow Springs, not just come here and have this job, that they would actually want to be part of our community, because I think that's an important part of it.
Village council works for the citizens of the village, and the village manager works for the council and for the citizens. And on the village website is a very good discussion of the role and relationship of the village manager to village council and the community. And I think that as we're searching for a new village manager, it would be good for, I would like to see council share that discussion and have some conversation with the community about the roles of council and the manager. Basically, the manager who will work well with our council and community, I think, is someone who, as has been said, can present to council a variety of, present to council issues that need to be addressed and options for how those issues can be addressed, and help council look at the decisions that need to be made, but on important decisions that impact the community, especially community values, council needs to make those decisions. In terms of retaining a village manager, I think that the search process that we use is critical, and I think we really need to do due diligence, not only to search for a village manager in traditional ways, but in non-traditional ways, and a lot of person-to-person, personal contacts with people, and also looking in areas besides just people that are in a city government, maybe people that have had administrative experience in other areas of business or nonprofit enterprises. And then I think that whoever comes here really needs to understand the community, and they need to understand that there are people in our community have strong opinions and that they're going to be impacted by that.
The consensus of, that is a small number of the McKee group's poll regarding how long we should let this thing go. And I'm going to do another quick poll real quickly. I'm going to ask one more substantive question about CBE and funding priorities, or we could conclude. How many would like to have one more question? Okay, that's a majority. That's what we'll do. One last time, and let's start with Dan. This one. I'm going to do this sort of extemporaneously. We have numerous questions about CBE, mixed feelings about funding of it, and other funding priorities. It's been pointed out in several questions here that generally speaking, no sprawl is kind of a valued position here, that the infrastructure and the development of a business park in Yellow Springs, this might threaten that a lot of money was voted to go towards infrastructure there, and there's some question as to whether or not there might be other funding priorities that should be attended to by council. So if you would each address, how do you feel about the decision to send a lot of village funds to for CBE support purposes, and what you think the other priorities should be of council at this time?
Okay, that's almost a 2-minute question, Bruce, but if I can pick out a little bit of that, perhaps I can add to this discussion in some ways. You're alluding to the current business before council and with the CBE and the return of the project and a request for funding for the road system and related improvements there. I understand that conversation to be still ongoing, but there's certainly it's been a central issue in some of the recent council meetings over the last months. One thing that occurs to me to say with regard to that, and I don't know that I've seen every bit of the information, but I hope there's some time taken to review what's being presented carefully and to make sure all the relevant information and details are reviewed and examined before commitments indeed are made, if they are. I was a little bit concerned in a recent council meeting about a sort of, it seemed a bit of a hurry up type of thing. And I understand that this project's been in the works for the better part of the time that I've been here, so it probably seems like an eternity for some of the people who've been close to it. But at the same time, it's also changed in terms of what's being specifically proposed. And so all the relevant details have to be out and discussed in public before we commit our resources to it. I think, as I was saying with our question earlier about development in the village, there are a number of different good and contributing sorts of development, and the edge of town is not excluded from that. I do have a tendency to favor infill development, though, as something that shouldn't be neglected as we're moving forward trying to come up with plans for the village. There are numerous significant properties within the village proper that are underused or not used currently. So keeping that in the picture too. Thank you. Which direction?
Well, first of all, I think it's important to highlight the over 15 years experience that has gone behind, or 15 years of work that has gone behind the Center for Business and Education. And I guess my first thought related to that is that undoing all that work really has to, we have to really question whether that makes sense. And my sense is that there's a lot of support for this kind of initiative, and I think we've heard most people emphasize the importance of economic development. So that in and of itself makes it a priority in my mind. I think the other thing we need to consider is where we get other sources of funding that we get for projects. Karen talked about the rebates that we got on streetlights. We know about the safe routes for schools and some of the sidewalk work that we're going to do. So in terms of thinking about priorities, we do need to look at where we can get funding to do some of these projects. Certainly, we need to think about our sidewalks and consider what kind of plan is involved with that and whether that takes a priority over some of the economic development issues. Certainly, we're thinking about our water sourcing and funding for those. But at the end of the day, I think that, and I agree with Dan on this, that we do need to look at what are the priorities and assess those and make sure that we are moving forward with a project that makes sense. My feeling is that we are, and that's why I support the CBE.
I'm just getting myself educated lately about the CBE. So far from what I know about this project, I can't say that I'm for it or against it, really. I think it would be great if it really does live up to the potential. I keep hearing all these big numbers about how it will bring us jobs and it will bring us all a whole bunch of new tax money to help our community, but I haven't seen anything that guarantees any of that. And so in that sense, I'm for it. I think it would be great if it works out, if it happens, but I haven't seen anything yet that convinces me that it will. And I don't have a problem with putting the brakes on the project because there's no reason to throw good money after bad. For one thing, if it's been in the works for as long as it has, why is it that it's been in the works for so long and hasn't come to fruition yet? My objections to the project are that it is a big gamble. There's no guarantees that the investment will pay off. I also would like to see special considerations and incentives for businesses to locate there from within our community, and also to encourage businesses that will have jobs and positions that can be filled by Yellow Springs residents. One of the biggest things I have concern about with the CBE is I have a lot of concerns over the sprawl issue. Ever since I first moved to Yellow Springs, this is something that we've always talked about, that we do not want to sprawl to Fairborn. And I've lived in Fairborn quite some time ago, and I've lived in this area a long time. And I see how fast Fairborn is rapidly sprawling up Dayton Yellow Springs Road in our direction. And I feel like this business park on the edge of town is pretty much us running out to them with a big old handshake and saying, "How do you do? Come on in." So I have a problem with it for that. So that's what I have to say about the CBE.
I'm quite acquainted with the undeveloped land and the developed land in the village, both through my role in homing when we looked for a property, and then for the last 2 years when I was working on the technical review committee that was helping to revise the zoning code. And during that latter process, I became very concerned about the lack of land that we have for commercial and business use. I mean, really, it's quite small. While there are some parcels of undeveloped land that are owned by private individuals, the village has, if you own the land, the village can't do anything about that. I look at the land for the Center for Business and Education, which was owned by Vernay and then purchased from Vernay, as supplanting the land that Vernay was on and is now a brownfield. I don't see it as sprawl. It is a risk. All business is a risk. And as I was saying, what we need to have space for very small businesses, and we need to have space for very small businesses to grow to a little bit bigger businesses. And then when those little bit bigger businesses need space, ideally they'll have space in Yellow Springs. So that's why I support the Center for business and education in that project. Also, we're not dealing with a fixed pie. The money that goes into the Center for Business and Education, some of it is grant money that is only going to be used for that. It's not going to be used, it can't be used for anything else. And the village has access to funding of different sources. So I don't see that putting money into this project means we can't be doing other projects. Clearly, we do have to be prudent in how we spend our money. I think given what people have talked about the need to have more well-paying and jobs so that younger people can live here, and as their skills get bigger, they can get into better jobs, we need to be able to take that risk.
Well, Mary Ann said a lot of great things. I agree with everything she said. Additionally, the investment in the CBE is one of the few investments in infrastructure that we have to get the money back, because we'll have jobs. The purpose of doing it is to add jobs, to add utility users, to add tax dollars, property tax dollars. Right now, that developed land is paying just pennies on the dollar in property tax. It's being taxed as agricultural land. Just the property tax alone, when it's developed, will be a huge increase. We have a funding plan for it that will it's called a TIF. It will take the increment of increased property taxes that will go directly towards paying off the loan that we take out to do the infrastructure. So there really has been a lot of thought put into it. We do have grants. We've been doing a great job of getting grants, and actually that's something that can tie back to the previous question about village manager. It's very important that we get somebody who is a good grant writer, because our wastewater treatment plant, we received a significant amount of grants on that. The Safe Routes to School, significant grants. The same thing for the CBE, we have a grant. We're looking for another grant to pay half of a major distribution project. So that's a way that we can really help to fund a lot of our infrastructure projects. So I think that, that the CBE is important, and it is a risk, but I think that there is enough evidence of businesses that are growing here, enough evidence of the businesses that we've lost to make it not a risk that I'm averse to taking. And as far as infill, our zoning will not allow the kind of infill, even though our zoning has changed and it's more liberal, we still can't do small manufacturing within the village in any of the infill areas.
When I think of the CBE, I try and put it in the context of the larger community, and I like to think of all the various competing demands on our resources, which you know are limited. So that for me, it's how do we get all of our constituents in the village what they need without prioritizing necessarily. I think we do it incrementally and in phases. We're doing the CBE project clearly in phases. It's what we can afford. We're doing a long-term renovation of the library building, and it's going to be done in 5 phases, perhaps over the course of 5 years. Another important asset here in the village. The downtown streetscape, we're doing incrementally for the same kind of reasons. So I think for me, it's mostly about how do we get it all done for all interested people in the timeliest manner and still preserve our resources in a responsible way. Thank you.
Well, I think it's no secret that I'm a big supporter of the CBE. I've been talking about it all night. I think it's a great risk for what it promises to give us back. Every business is a risk, and it's all about how you manage that risk and the preparation that you take and put in that business. So I think we really have done our due diligence on this project. I'd love to see it go forward as soon as we can get it done. I think the financing looks good. The grant we have is solid, and I hope we can make this happen before we end up losing that grant like we did the grant that we had before. We had $600,000 before, and we waited too long. It's gone now. So we need to move fast on this, guys.
I'm convinced it's a good idea, and as a business person, I'm pretty sure it's gonna work, and I really agree with Karen on this. Don't tell her. I also want to make sure that I kept my promise tonight.
Would all the candidates rise, please, and remain standing?
Me. Thank you very much. Thank everybody. And please take your chairs to the back and let's stack them in the carriers. We need to clean the room. Thank you.
Thank you all for coming.